Welcome to Bridge to India's update on renewable power tenders and policies for the month of July. We start with tenders first. July saw 14 new utility-scale tenders across multiple states. Total new issuance was 5,430 megawatt, an increase of around 88% over previous month. Auctions continue to lag, with only 500 megawatt wind capacity being awarded in the month. Results were also announced for a 10 megawatt, 20 megawatt-hour standalone storage tender by Kerala State Electricity Board. States have taken the lead in both issuance and auctions with a share of 78% and 54% respectively year-to-date in 2022. SECI continues to focus on tying up PPAs for rolled auctions. We estimate that secondary off-takers are yet to be identified for a capacity of 3 gigawatt. Let us dive into new tenders. 8 of the new tenders aggregating 5,391 megawatt were issued in project development mode. There were 4 EPC tenders aggregating 39 megawatt and 2 solar EPC sub-tenders totaling 590 megawatt issued in this month. 10 new rooftop solar tenders totaling 306 megawatt were also issued. Gujarat awarded a 500 megawatt wind capacity, while Kerala became the first state to award a standalone storage project with a capacity of 10 megawatt 20 megawatt hour. NTPC also completed an EPC auction for a 325 megawatt project, part of the capacity won by the company in a recent RUMS Madhya Pradesh 450 megawatt solar auction. Bid submission deadlines were extended for 32 tenders. Now, let us look at key tenders issued in the month. REMCL issued 2 pan-India tenders with a cumulative capacity of 2,548 megawatt. The first to develop 1,000 megawatt of solar wind hybrid projects with or without storage to supply round-the-clock power. Minimum CUF requirement is 75% for the first 4 years, 85% for the rest of the PPA tenure, and 50% for every 15-minute time block. CUF shortfall penalty is set at 200% of applicable tariff. A unique aspect of the tender is that the project developers may meet up to 15% of contracted capacity shortfall through any other RE or non-RE resource. However, any non-RE power supplied after 2029 must be offset with RECs, IRECs, or any other applicable mechanisms. Bid sizes can range between 250 and 1000 megawatt, and commissioning timeline is set at 24 months. The other REMCL tender is for developing an aggregate solar capacity of 1,548 megawatts split into 16 packages across various states close to transaction substations. Commissioning timeline is set at 18 months. Gujarat's GUVNL issued a 750 megawatt solar project development tender. Commissioning timeline is 18 months and bid submission date is 9 September. Gujarat has now issued 8 project development tenders with a cumulative RE capacity of 2.8 gigawatt in 2022 alone. Madhya Pradesh's MPUVNL issued a 1,250 megawatt tender under KUSUM scheme Component C. The commissioning timeline is set at 9 months and the bid submission date is 31st August. Maharashtra's MSEDCL issued a 500 megawatt pan-India solar tender. Commissioning timeline is set at 15 months for solar park projects and 18 for non-solar park ones. Bid submission date is 30th August. Maharashtra is yet another state leading on tender issuance. It has issued 12 tenders aggregating 5.6 gigawatt capacity since January 2022. However, around 2.9 gigawatt of this capacity is under the agricultural feeder scheme, which has consistently received poor responses in the past. RUMS Madhya Pradesh invited bids to develop 300 megawatt floating solar capacity, the second phase of a 600 megawatt project at Omkareshwar Dam. Bid submission date is 26 September. Auctions were already completed for first phase of 300 megawatt in May 2022, with capacities being allocated to AMP, NHDC, and SJVN. 2 EPC sub-tenders were issued for the month. SJVN issued a 90 megawatt floating solar EPC tender to execute a project it won under RUMS Madhya Pradesh floating solar tender mentioned previously. NLC issued a sub-tender for 500 megawatt solar capacity won by the company under IREDA's PSU Tranche 3 5000 megawatt tender. Bid submission date is 24th August. Now let us look at a few key rooftop solar tenders for this month. Jammu and Kashmir issued an EOI for a 200 megawatt EPC tender under MNRE subsidy scheme for residential consumers. UP NEDA also issued a tender for installing up to 38 megawatt peak capacity for residential consumers under the MNRE subsidy scheme. MP UPNL issued two project development tenders, 14 megawatt for offtake by commercial consumers and 35 megawatt for offtake by government consumers. Kerala also issued a 20 megawatt EPC tender for multiple consumer segments. Gujarat completed auction for its 500 megawatt wind Tranche 3 tender. Winners were GSECL, EDF, Juniper, Blue Pine Energy, O2, Acme and Ayana at tariffs between 2.98 and 3.27 rupees per kilowatt hour. This is the first wind auction by any state in 2022 and first by GUVNL in over 3 years. Tariffs are higher by up to 0.35 rupees in comparison to the last wind auction by SECI in May 2022. Kerala announced the results for its 10 megawatt, 20 megawatt hour standalone storage tender. The project was awarded to Hero at a flat availability based tariff of Rs 1.13 million per megawatt per month. Other bidders were O2PA and Tata Power. The state will provide land near a substation on lease basis and the project is required to be commissioned in 15 months. The system must be available for 2 charge-discharge cycles per day with minimum annual availability of 95% and round-trip efficiency of at least 85%. Although the tariff looks aggressive on the part of the project developer, it still yields effective cost of storage at about Rs 11 per kilowatt hour. We understand that Kerala is looking for some grants to justify project viability. Results were announced for an EPC Balance of System Package sub-tender by NTPC. The company awarded the 325 megawatt solar EPC contract to NTPC GE Power Services. There were several bidders in the fray, including Sterling and Wilson, Jackson, and Tata Power. The contract value is unavailable. With more than 16 gigawatts of tenders issued so far this year, we expect tender issuances to slow down in the coming months. Auctioning activity, on the other hand, is expected to pick up as the backlog of unauctioned tenders issued since 2021 January total almost 26 gigawatts. This concludes the tender updates for July 2022.
Let us now discuss major policy and regulatory updates. We will start with updates from the central government, followed by key updates from states. MOP updates RPO trajectory until FY 2030. The Ministry of Power has set RPO trajectory at 43.33% by financial year 2030. The target has been restructured and split in three categories: hydro, wind, and other renewables. Hydro target has been set at 2.82% and may be met by procurement from projects commissioned after 8th March 2019. Wind target of 6.94% may be met by procurement from projects commissioned after 31st March 2022. Target for other renewables at 33.57% may be met by procurement from other hydro and wind power projects, solar and bioenergy projects. Obligated entities are also required to procure 4% of electricity consumption from energy storage projects. Eligible storage projects are required to procure at least 85% of power from renewable sources on annual basis. Updated trajectory is in line with renewable power projects announced by the government. Based on historical power demand growth, we expect total renewable capacity to reach around 390 gigawatt by financial year 2030 compared to target of 500 gigawatt, even with 100% RPO enforcement. It is important for central government to get states to adopt these targets. Alignment of state RPO targets with central government guidelines and enforcement remain critical priorities, with penalty for non-compliance of up to 0.5 rupees per kilowatt hour proposed in recent amendment to Electricity Act. Forum of Regulators issues draft approval procedure for renewable open access. The Forum of Regulators has proposed a single window approval system for all renewable open access transactions. All captive consumers and non-captive consumers with contracted load of 100 kilowatt or more are eligible under this procedure. WASOCO has been designated as the central nodal agency and shall receive all applications. It will delegate applications to state nodal agencies depending on duration and type of transaction. New applications must be approved within 7 days of submission. We believe that this procedure would bring much needed clarity and uniformity in open access regulations across states. Minimum threshold for open access eligibility has been reduced to 100 kilowatt from commonly followed 1 megawatt. Single window application process and short approval timeline addresses long-standing challenges for CNI market. Ministry of Finance bans deferment of basic custom duty on solar modules. The Ministry of Finance has ordered that solar power developers shall not be given permission to defer payment of BCD and IGST under Manufacture and Other Operations in Warehouse Regulation 2019, a scheme commonly known as MOVER. The Ministry also ordered that permissions already granted shall be reviewed. The scheme allows deferment of import duties on capital goods used directly or indirectly for exports. Duty is payable when importer uses the imported goods for domestic sales. The decision is on expected lines as permission sought by solar developers did not follow core principles of this scheme. MNRE issues strategy paper with 37 gigawatt offshore wind target. MNRE has sought market feedback on its offshore wind power strategy paper with 37 gigawatt capacity addition target by March 2030. The Ministry has proposed two models for developing projects: tariff or VGF based competitive auction for sale of power to discoms with a target of 25 gigawatt and leasing sites through competitive bidding for CNI market with a target of 12 gigawatt. 4 to 5 gigawatt capacity auctions are planned every year until financial year 2030. The proposed target is overly ambitious and 23% higher than the target floated by MNRE earlier this year. Lack of manufacturing capacity, long gestation period and high tariffs are key challenges for the offshore wind sector in India. Karnataka withdraws net metering for open access consumers. Karnataka regulator has clarified that open access consumers are not eligible for net metering connectivity. The clarification was issued after DISCOMs rejected net metering applications for many open access consumers. The clarification is a blow to CNI renewable market in Karnataka. Other states like Maharashtra and Chhattisgarh have also adopted similar regulations. Punjab proposes to ban net metering for captive consumers. Punjab regulator has issued draft regulations for captive power consumers, making them ineligible for net metering, net billing or gross metering. Draft regulation allows captive consumers to bank surplus power until end of financial year. DISCOM has also been directed to verify captive status of consumers on an annual basis. Punjab's open access renewable power market remains highly underpenetrated due to challenges related to land and resource availability. Such restrictive measures would further limit the state's attractiveness as a CNI rooftop solar market. Jharkhand sets 4 gigawatt solar target for 2026. The Jharkhand government has issued new solar power policy for 2022-2026 with capacity addition target of 4 gigawatt and 12.5% share of solar in DISCOM power procurement. The state aims to add 2.6 gigawatt capacity from land-based and floating solar projects, 400 megawatt from canal top projects, and 250 megawatt each from rooftop and agri-solar systems. Some key incentives offered include 100% waiver of electricity duty for 5 years, 100% waiver of transmission and wheeling charges for projects equipped with storage, AS and CSS exemption for 25 years, and up to 80% subsidy for residential rooftop solar systems. Banking would be allowed until end of financial year at 5% charge. These targets are overly ambitious. The state regulator has been very slow in enacting new regulations, leading to an underdeveloped renewable market. As an example, the government had issued a rooftop solar policy in 2017 with target of 500 megawatt capacity by March 2020. Currently, the state is estimated to have around 80 megawatt of rooftop capacity. Maharashtra determines FY 2023 tariff for gross metering systems. Maharashtra regulator approved 4.05 to 4.70 rupees per kilowatt hour as tariff for procurement of solar power under gross metering regime. For consumers availing net metering, unused bank power at the end of each month shall be procured at 3 rupees per kilowatt hour. Tariffs have been increased by around 3% year on year. However, this increase falls short of 27% hike in rooftop solar EPC cost over last year. As a result, gross metering remains an unattractive option for C&I consumers. This concludes key updates from Indian renewable power market from July 2022. We hope you found this update useful. You can view all tender, policy and regulatory information on the renewable power sector in real time at India RE Navigator, a one-stop market intelligence portal for the renewable sector. You can also write to us at contact@bridge2india.com if you have a query or feedback. We would love to hear back from you. We will be back next month with another update. Until then, goodbye and take care.